This is funny. People are hearing me talk right now. This is great. I didn't have my buttons available. A little pop-up blocked my button to move the thing out of the way. Hi, people. We're going to play the music right now. It's been a great late night, Rabbi. Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting to you live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another cool episode with Rabbi David Katz. He's going to tell us a little bit about his Texas tour here just a few short weeks ago. So coming to you from, are you in Safat, Rabbi? Where are you? Yes, in Safat, neighbor of Ira Michelson, from what I understand, and Chaim Kaufman as well, right?
Kaufman's interested with it.
Oh, okay. So you guys are that neighbor. Okay, got it.
Chaim Klurfin is my other neighbor.
Oh, seriously? He's there with you guys too? Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, well, so basically what we wanted to do was I asked Rabbi Katz if he would be willing to come on and tell us a little bit about his Texas tour. He's got a few little samples of it out there with different cool parts of the story, and you got to touch base of the Best Buy It thing, at least a little bit of it on this broadcast. I listened to it with you and Ira, and that was just so funny. I love listening.
Did you get the Best Buy thing? Did you understand that?
I understood most of it. I have a friend of mine who's a techie, and he tells me a lot of stuff I don't. That just goes right over my head. I have no clue. But you mean about the Ger? Oh yeah. That whole thing was really cool, actually.
Because I have
the Ger Goy thing, right?
Yeah,
that was
I've
good.
received great feedback on that, and I think I deal with a lot of people, and I think the biggest thing I find in my work is I get this a lot. Well, I get what you're saying, Rabbi Katz, but nobody else I don't think did. Everyone thinks that about everybody else.
Right.
I mean, everyone says, I got it. But him, no.
Right.
And the fact that who I told this person to, I know he got it, and he's thinking no one else got it. So, William, you just made my morning, I guess we could say.
That's cool. That's cool.
I like to prove things. That's what I do as a rabbi. To me, the story is case in point, and I think it's easy to understand that otherwise I wouldn't say it. Sometimes I misjudge, and I say things that are not easy to understand. But
hey,
you definitely made my morning.
Well, this will make it even better then, because up until I heard that whole spill, up until that listening of that episode, I was confused still. But as I listened through your repeating and explaining things, I finally got it. I was like, oh my God. Oh, now I get it. That's beautiful. So it wasn't just a good one. It was that the whole
got Ger?
The Ger Goy. Goy had me confused for a long time. And Ger and I was thinking it's the same thing. What's a Ger Goy? Whatever, soy sauce. But I finally got it. And you did a really cool job with that. In fact, I strongly recommend you viewers out there, if you have any curiosity with it whatsoever, you need to go back. Maybe you can message Rabbi Katz. He can send you a link to the broadcast with him and Ira Michelson on their radio station or on their radio broadcast. And it was just a fun listen altogether. It was really cool listening to you guys talk, and great storylines, great explanations on things, and just love listening to you guys go back and forth. It was nice.
Right. And just understand, everybody, that we're doing a really massive thing here. I mean, William and his show, and Ira and his show, and Rod of his Nativ Centers, and everybody, okay? Tovia singers in Indonesia. Okay, this is not simple things that we're doing here. And from my point of view, what I'm doing is I have to speak this message to everybody on every level, right? So in the beginning, you might find my older work that I'm not talking to you if you found that work. I may have posted it to you, but really I'm talking to either myself or rabbis, right? It wasn't meant to go out to the world in terms of I expected you to understand it. That wasn't where we were at. I had to bring it down in a format that it wasn't going to be, laughed at, David Katz's opinions of the non-Jew. And so as the message has evolved over 4 or 5 years, it's getting to the point where everyone has an opportunity to tune in on their level and their desire. There's we just got done doing a show a little bit ago with the grammar of the Talmud. I mean, that's not for everybody. So understand that there's the Ger world, Noahide world, non-Jewish world, whatever you call it, is incredibly vast, right? You don't get 50,000 denominations of Christianity by an accident. Meaning, just because today the people are not Christians doesn't mean that they've lost their diversity. Mankind is a diverse creature, Jewish, non-Jewish, whatever you call it. So the Torah speaks on 70 faces of the Torah, and there's many angles. And my job is purely because I love what I do, but I'm trying to maximize everything, not just because I love what I do, but everyone has their interest and take and ability to understand. I will say that today I think it is getting clearer on every level because all the quadrants are uniting. Like, William, you said before, you have your background and you got a little bit of what I was saying, a year or two ago, and now maybe more. And now you're saying you get gear on this level. So it's working. And try not to be discouraged out there. If you heard an older broadcast or, you got me last week, but this week, no, I'm speaking to everybody. But I just don't have God ability to say one thing and make the whole world get it. We are in the flesh, and it's a little harder.
Rabbi, we just talked about the English language and how in the last episode just moments ago, and we were discussing how in my kids' grammar books they've got these weird things in there. There's upside down e's called schwas, and I'm thinking to myself, why would they add this stuff? This is crazy. And my wife dumbed it down for me, and she was like, they didn't add it. It was always there. They just found it. It was there the whole time. Just like the Nikodim for Hebrew, the vowels have always existed. I mean, forever. They were just handed down traditionally. Now we've got them written. Doesn't mean that just because they showed up 300 years ago or whenever they showed up, doesn't mean that they created them. They were there. They just illustrated what was already there. And
that's it. That's an analogy for, I think, what the whole world's experiencing with the internet era,
Right. Yeah.
I read, my mother, her mind got blown yesterday. I like to research a lot, many things. And somehow I got, I found out a while ago, I guess, if you want to learn about a people or a culture, read their constitution. Every major thing has a constitution. So I finally printed out and read the Magna Carta, the Constitution of England, the original one, like 1200. They were anti-Semitic.
Wow,
and
really?
I'm saying they literally called out the Jews. It said that if you have a debt by the Jews, you don't have to pay it back.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's nuts. It's really nuts.
Wow.
And I read the PLO, Palestinian whatever authority constitution from 67 or 68. They invented a religion. It's crazy. They're trying to say it's a mystical people in the land, and father, son, Ben Acher Ben, father, son, lineage. And I'm like, wow, they really went that far.
Yeah.
In the news, they try to portray it, but man, they really went that far. So never underestimate what was originally written. And if you want to make sense out of today, look to what was written in the past. If you want to understand the English language, go read the etymology books. It's all there. And, to close this point, you'll find out the English language was created from vulgar Latin, meaning a dumbed down Ebonics Latin, to make a new elite language for the sole purpose of discussing the Bible in educated academic terms.
Wow, that's crazy.
The English language is largely, if not entirely, Bible-based. So, and I told William before, go look up in your dictionary is the word assumption. Like, hey, William, that was a good assumption you had. It means the deification of the Virgin Mary. So, anyways, on this note, I've told the story of Texas in many formats, as you said, some comical and some even romantic, like when I first touched down at Rod Bryant's in Nativ.
Okay, before you leave, Rabbi, real quickly, if you don't mind, just on a real quick overview, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Why did you plan the Texas trip? What was your attempted goal to accomplish while you were here? And then go back in and zoom into what you're fixing to say.
Okay, so in the Noahide world, Texas is kind of like it's the mecca of the Noahide, but we don't know why.
It's like a melting pot almost of different
it's just everyone's
branches.
there, and it's like, why? That's not their question. That's maybe more the Jewish question. But I got involved in Noahides, and it's like, hey, Rabbi Katz, you come into our world conference. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? But then on Facebook, it's like, hi, Rabbi Katz, my name is Bob Jones, and I'm a Ger. I'm a Noahide. I'm a righteous Gentile. I'm a former Christian. I'm a former pastor. I'm a former. Hey, where are you from, Bob? I'm from Austin. I'm from Dallas. I'm from Houston. I'm from San Antonio. I'm from Lubbock. I'm from Abilene. I'm from El Paso. I'm from up there in Fort Worth. Like, okay, everybody's from Texas.
Right. That is that's an anomaly.
It's a little strange. What is going on in Texas? So, from day one, it's like, hey, Rabbi Katz, you come and check us out. Hey, Rabbi Katz, you come to the conference. Yeah, why not? Sure. Okay. So, this is going back to 2011. I didn't know what Texas was. I didn't know what half the work is that I'm even doing now back then, because when you come onto this work, you don't realize the proper word world you're stepping into. I thought there was like 5 Noahides in a canoe somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And so I got involved for a couple of years, and obviously Texas was going to be in the cards. And with our book coming out, The World of the Ger, found at gergear.com for those following along, which is our introduction level work it's a great read. It's an easy read. It's not the Talmudic stuff that you might have heard me do. It's a great read, just the biblical Noahide / Ger / righteous Gentile of the 5 books of Moses Old Testament.
And this is with you and Rabbi Chaim Chlorfine?
That's
y'all
correct.
Work together on the book? Very nice. Okay.
Yep. And so Chaim actually went to Texas first, and he launched the book tour a year ago, raising money to publish and produce the book. And, by then I know a billion people from Texas, and it's always, wait till you get to Texas. And it's like, okay, wait till I get to Texas. But, Chaim came back a changed man. And I know, all the rabbis are saying this. You go to Texas, you come back different. I still don't believe that in terms of what I thought that meant then.
Right.
The point came now, the book is out, and my trip to Texas was now in motion, and we planned it from August 10th to 25th of this past August. So to get the story, I didn't know why I was going. I know why I promoted it and why they said I was going, and but really, did I know? Not really. Do I know now why I went? Not really. Do I know why I'm going to go back? Not really, because it doesn't pay to cheapen it with
sure.
Oh, I went to talk on a bunch of nice Noahides. God bless their hearts. They're wonderful people. I would love that to be the simple answer. It's just not true. And so I'm still trying to figure out what happened, and I think a lot of people that I met there are also trying to figure out what happened. So let's document what happened for all of time. We can always try to figure it out.
That sounds good.
And I'm going to tell you from the journey perspective. I have not yet told the journey perspective, which means I'm not here to make you laugh, cry, or give you my opinion, or tell you what I enjoyed most or least. I'm going to tell you simply what happened. And it's for you to contemplate, meditate for yourselves what it was, because it was definitely something. I packed my bags. My mother made Aliyah. The book is growing, and Ger is pretty much here for good. My trip is planned. I have no idea what I'm teaching. It's gone through my head a bunch of different directions, and I'm trying to do algorithm equations. Like, I'm going to be speaking in Lubbock, and that's Rabbi Chaim Richmond territory in the Temple Institute. Probably talk about the temple there. And in Abilene, it's, I'm being told it's a lot of maybe Christians, Messianics are going to come in and ambush the events. We'll try to talk to the biblical Ger. And that was a little charade that I was playing. And Russell Kirk, who planned the trip, is saying you're going to come here and Rabbi Katz is going to, he's going to become defined. You're going to find out who you are, what you are, how you are. And this is all just theory. It doesn't even really matter. I didn't get it. I wanted to get it. William, did you see the talk at Rod's place on YouTube, the Nativ talk? Or did you see any of my talks in Texas?
No, I haven't seen them yet. I've got them saved to watch. I just haven't had time to sit down and click it yet.
A funny little fact that people may be surprised about, despite the fact that we have over 200 videos on YouTube, those are all in the confines of my home in my office I call Gear headquarters.
Nice.
And I have a film guy that comes, and sometimes we have a small audience, like a couple people, whether Gear I'm passing through or friends in town. But I've actually never done live public speaking until my first night at Nativ with Rod. So if you saw the videos, Lubbock was the third public speaking forum I've ever done in my life. So it just kind of adds flavor to the story.
That's cool.
Getting to the airport was fun. Ira took me in his car. He was preoccupied with things. I think that was a great divine Mazel message, because we didn't talk. We wanted to talk. The whole plan was he was going to take me so that we should talk. He had neighbor issues, real nasty neighbor. And my mother just moved in, made Aliyah, so I wasn't in the mood to talk. I mean, I was told to take out the trash on my way to the airport. And I'm like, can I go out and play with my friends? I mean, that's where I'm at in life. With my two little kids and grandma visiting or staying with us. So I'm preoccupied as well. It's also why I've been disappearing from the internet the last couple of weeks on my return, because we're taking care of her Aliyah. So the ride down was, I wouldn't call it boring. It was, you could cut the tension. It had nothing to do with me and Ira. Just our lives were, look, I'm on a jet airplane coming in a couple hours, and he's trying to figure out how he's not going to kill his neighbor. So, it was good. It was
Right.
God made a good distraction.
Right.
I got to the airport. I had a really nice airport experience. Anyone that goes to visit Israel, you'll notice the airport's different. You walk in, and you actually never stop walking, and you never actually are confronted by any, Americans like, start, stop, start, stop. Here, you just keep going, and they're watching you the whole time, and you don't really know what's going on. It's a fascinating experience of just the technology and wisdom that the country uses to remain safe and secure. It's very impressive. Words can't describe it. Just it's an experience. It really is. You get on the airplane, my light doesn't work, so I can't read. I have a whole vision. I'm going to read a book on the plane, and I'm going to study for 15 hours straight. That didn't happen. And they don't want you doing that. They want you passed out. So they make it, it's hard to stay awake because they turn all the lights off, and it's very hard to stay focused. So the flight was, it was just get to Texas. That's all was going through my mind, because they didn't give me any ability to think anything else. Warning for the future: always travel with an empty water bottle to fill that water bottle up on a long plane, because it's really stupid. They don't give you anything. It's kind of nutty that you're going to sit there that long and not drink. But touchdown in New York, and I'm not liking New York, not at all. I have not been to America since 2004, and that was only for about a week. And before then, since the time I made Aliyah in 2001, which I've been here ever since. So I'm not happy. I'm not impressed, and I don't know why. And I'm trying not to be bitter and do the classic, the Goyim in America, they don't get it, the Torah, but the Noahides are better. I'm trying, not to do that. And I'm seeing a lot of Nike and Adidas and billboards, and trying. I'm tired also, and I hadn't slept, and I'm traveling, and I'm carrying a big carry on. I have all the wrong travel stuff. I didn't take the right stuff. I'm unprepared in terms of traveling. So it's part of the journey, part of the experience that we're painting the picture here. My brother wants to meet me on the 46th Street in Manhattan, at Grand Central Station, and go get some kosher pizza. Now, I used to visit New York every summer as a kid when my brother lived there in his single days, and back then it seemed a lot like Disneyland. Just the concept. Now, when I got there, it's like, okay, it's just a city. It really lost its appeal. And I had to go in the subway to meet him. I've never done that before as an adult. Navigating, now America's kind of a foreign land at this point. I'm not really from around here. That's how I feel when I'm on the subway. And I got the beard yarmulke and the travel bag. And I already called one guy in the airport, and JFK, Achi, and Slicha, which means excuse me, a brother.
Right.
I just forgot everything, my element. And I was actually speaking in a very soft English, which is rare for me because I was so used to saying, "Slicha efo et ma shani tzarich lasot akshav," and just kind of speaking Hebrew. And I'm not used to servicemen responding in English. And I was apprehensive to speak straight from the heart because I haven't had that kind of conversation in a long time. It's to get someone to tell me where to go in Hebrew, it's like, hey, hey, hello. But in America, it's hello, sir, excuse me, and I'm like tentative to even speak. So I'm on the subway, and I'm like, I want to know what my stop is, and I'm just not afraid. It's just kind of like I'm used to like being gruff in Israel, like, hey, where's my stop on this train? So it was a different experience. And again, everyone's in their own little world, staring at their telephone. That's a Hebrew for cell phone. See, there it comes. I'm not happy. But, I met my brother and my sister, and I'm saying, maybe Texas is different. So I go back to the airport, get on the JetBlue, and arrive in Houston. And I get off the terminal, and there's like a little banjo drumming. Hey, we're down in Texas, and we're sitting on the worn out carpet in the airport. Ooh. I'm like, yes, I love this place. I'm moving to Texas. It was different. And it's like, hey, America is, just like in Israel, different cities, different culture. And yeah, we're in Texas, man. We are in Texas. Rod comes, and it's brotherhood right from the time I see him. We've had so much relationship on Skype. There was not a get to know you. It's just like, hey, brother, where you been all my life? And we go to the supermarket, and I haven't been to a supermarket in so many years, and it's changed so much, and there's kosher food there, and it's like, wow, just weird. I'm not used to buying kosher food from a supermarket because in Israel it's just called food.
Right.
We get to the hotel, and I don't know, just there was a different vibe. And Houston, I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and in Dayton, Ohio, Dayton has an identity crisis. It's not Cleveland, Columbus, or Cincinnati. And it's trying to say, like, look, we got strip malls too. Look, we have one building downtown too. And now there's been a mass exodus out of Dayton because GM closed down, and a lot of the big companies have moved out, and they say it's a ghost town. And from the pictures I've seen on the internet, it's the shopping malls have, the grass growing between the cracks in the parking lot.
Sure.
And in Texas, that's what we call that home. That's how it is. And it's like, they have the twang down, but like Texas, that's who it is. They didn't go through the phase of we're trying to be like someone else. Texas is saying, hey, we're Texas. You like it? Good. If you don't, get lost.
Right. Get out.
The highways are not impressive at all. They're huge, sprawling, bare, ugly concrete. And I'm saying, that's how it's supposed to be, man. It's a road. You should feel comfortable driving. And I saw the lack of commercialism. In Ohio, it's TGI Fridays, Chili's, and Arby's. In Houston, it's called Bob's Steakhouse and Jed's Rib Shop and Martha's Seafood. And I'm like, wow, it's just different. You don't feel like the bling of a wannabe Las Vegas. It's just back home, like kind of like the deep suburbs of back home, where no one's trying to impress. It's laid back. And this is like the downtown Houston, not downtown, but the freeway going through where the stadiums were. I'm like, this is New York is not Houston. Houston is New York, and let's never make that comparison again because New York is commercialism. It's a different function. And when I get to Nativ, and I'm finally going to do my first public speaking, what does Rod at Nativ? What does Nativ look like? And you can't tell from the videos, but I told Rod it's like a little comedy club because anyone that's worked in any kind of production or comedy club, the comedy club is not about laughing. It's a little miniature, production. And there's elements to it that the people laughing don't see, but the workers do. The comedians are people. They're not laugh men all the time. So there's a very humane element to the club, and getting the production on time and the advertisements and the way it runs. And now we're turning the lights on. And Rod runs it very much like that. It's that it's a production that he wants it to be. That there's a rabbi coming through every week, and we're going to support him, and we're going to come out and see him, and we're going to sign his book and talk to him. And it was a comedy club. Only we weren't here to laugh. We were here to do the same comedians do, and had to share ideas. Like I always say, I worked in comedy clubs in my college years. My mother always says, you missed the boat. You should have been a comedian. I say, if I was a comedian, I would be the funniest comedian in the world that no one would ever laugh at his jokes. I'd just say, he's right. What can you do? He's right. That's what George Carlin is. All these comedians, they're just, we're just agreeing with you. They have a way of making you laugh. But Torah is the same thing, just without the laughing.
Sure.
It's just a different funny bone. Oftentimes when you learn a truth in Torah, you do laugh because it's like right in front of your face. You say, how could I never have seen that before? It's kind of funny when it happens.
Well,
that's what. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I had gone to Houston and I met Rod the first time was when Rabbi Singer had done the Houston debate with Dr. Craig Evans. Pardon me. And but anyway, when I finally was able to get and meet Rod, I was very, very impressed because that's Nativ.net, I think is his website. And yeah, it was a much bigger operation than I had actually anticipated. And I'm like, man, for him to pull it off so well and to have it run so fluidly, it's a major task.
That's it. And I noticed it's what you call running fluid in your words. I'm calling that the wisdom.
Right.
I know that wisdom.
Right.
Rod is running it with wisdom. It's again, if you want to make a wood carving, right? Are you going to start taking an axe and hacking down a tree, or are you going to actually carve a tool?
Right.
Right. Rod is not in a hacked down tree that he put a stump in a living room and say we call that a chair. No, Rod is a craftsman, and he is using wisdom to do the work that he's doing. I wouldn't say he's doing hard work because that's not an accurate depiction. He's using wisdom, and when the whole premise of wrestling is, with wisdom, you don't have to work as hard.
Right. Work smarter, not harder.
But it works by itself. The right tool does the job. Now, combine hard work with that, and you got something. And Rod is working hard. Yep. But you cannot work hard and maintain if you don't do wisdom with it. You'll wear out. And Rod's not wearing out.
Right.
The talk was great. People came, and I just kind of shot off the cuff, shot off the hip, and gave my experience of Best Buy, where
that was great.
Rod took me to buy stuff because in Israel we don't have anything over here like that. And I'm teaching about Ger, Goy, Noah, Jew, Ding, Dong, Dong for years now, and I'm drawing it from my experiences from back home. But I never looked at my friends as is Bob the Goy and as Jim the Ger and as Sally the Noahide. That's not how I viewed my youth, and I didn't even know about it to even have done it. But in Best Buy is when it really, the penny dropped for me. I'm seeing the teachings of the Torah are real, but really real, not in theory, kind of like Neo in the Matrix when he met Smith, is that the Goy is not a derogatory term. He's called a guy who's just really not interested in Torah, religion, God. He's interested in Dungeons and Dragons and being a human on a shallow level, because guess what? You, William, you were shallow. I was shallow. Who wasn't a Bol Tshuva in this world, right? Who hasn't repented for something shallow? It's called immaturity. It's called youth, misdirected, misguided. I can claim I would have been the greatest wrestler ever if I would have had a right coach. Well, guess what, David Katz? You didn't have the best coach, and you were not a great wrestler. Your identity in your heart is that you're a wrestler, but no one would ever identify me as a great wrestler because I wasn't. So if wrestling is the truth, then I am not the truth. And that, in the wrestling world, I was the goy. I was the kid that wanted to talk about things other than wrestling. That's foreign in wrestling. No one assumed that I was a real wrestler. Now, I'm a fan of the sport, but I'm not a true blue wrestler. A real wrestler, I want to watch their interview so I know what it is. The goy is not a true Bible personality, and he has that right. But you can see the contrast that there's a creation on the planet called Ger. It is the biblical God-fearer. He's just a natural God-fearing person. And God created man, and some people just fear God. It's like, you go on a business deal and the guy says, look, I fear the Lord. I don't go to church. I don't go to synagogue. I know God is with me and I respect the higher power. We've all heard that guy. That's a Ger. And the goy is going to say, my mom and dad make me go to church every Sunday and I kind of love Jesus. But does he really? What is that?
Right.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But the bottom line is there is a goy mentality, a goy culture. And it's not a derogatory term, goy meaning of the nations. There is a Ger culture. Some people just fear, Hashem hu Elohim, right? Hashem is the true God. Why? Ask God. My friends I knew from back home, I never had Jesus friends. My friends were Gerim, and I can prove it. I don't know how many people alive can prove that. If I didn't know what a Ger was myself until 2011, in terms of as I know it in my teachings, then how could I have known Gerim in my youth? Sounds like a pretty tough question, right?
Right.
And then how could I identify these people in Best Buy? By the time I got to Anita Jones's house in Grandview, I have a friend from high school, Nick Talley, sophomore year, Mr. Ullery's math class. We used to talk about, kid philosophy, whatever we were talking about. But we weren't talking about Jesus or Rosh Hashanah or Mike Gefilte Fish and his cross. He didn't have a cross and I didn't have Gefilte Fish. We had friendship and common bond.
Right.
And we were two souls trying to find our way, navigating a maze of high school, trying to find out why nobody else had an identity, but we seemed to have had one, but didn't know why.
Right.
Nick showed up at Anita Jones's house with his fiance to not see his friend David Katz, even though that I invited him, but I didn't know even what night he was going to come. Nick came because he sensed the Gerim were there, and he was more interested in talking to them than me. And that, to me, is the ultimate success, right? Nick doesn't owe me any favors, and I don't owe him any favors. And as he left, he said, David, I just want to thank you. This is way more than I ever expected. I'm ready to marry my fiance now because we both realize that we're Ger and there's a whole world of us out there. So you can knock Ger all you want, and you can disagree with it all you want. But the bottom line is Nick didn't choose his words or actions because of a debt he owes to a friend from high school. I didn't exist in Anita Jones's house. And everyone that was there, Jake Fry was there, he'll tell you. Mike Matlich was there, he'll tell you. A lot of people were there. I was the least attraction there. And that's how I want it to be. I'm not interested in craving attention, and that's everyone that knows me knows that. For me, it's called nachas. It's like when your kid graduates high school and you have a lot of nachas. It's like, man, he did it. My kid did it. I had nachas. I showed up at Anita Jones's house Friday, Erev Shabbos, and her friend are cooking all the Shabbos food, and they're both wearing aprons that say Gourmet Ger and Grillin' Ger. Right? So you can say what you want about the teachings, but do you really think that my drasha on a pasuk is going to determine how Anita Jones wears her apron in her kitchen?
Right.
Really? It's apples and oranges. And you're talking about the widow of Vendell Jones, the father of the Noahide movement, who they probably know a thing or two about what Noahide is, you think. So that's where the journey's going. It's, I just got to sit back and it gave, I taught, but I'm just one part of the whole experience. The food is an experience. 50 Gerim there talking. I don't know what they're talking about. I was sitting out of the whole group. I was in Vendell's chair at my own table, reading my own book, teaching. I don't know what they were all talking about. But I'll tell you what, it was electric, and they were themselves, and they were genuine, and it was, whatever it was, the energy was real. I mean, I know it was for me.
Right.
And what they were saying, I really don't know what they were saying, because it wasn't about that. I was talking to people that I was talking to. It was like, I think I found the perfect party. As a kid, we all wanted, real social interaction, but did you know what to talk about? Did you know the people? Could you find the venue? Finally found it. Nick and I, what we used to do as kids, we always were looking for the perfect venue, but it didn't exist in Centerville circa 1995. And that's why I know what Nick found, because I found it with them together that night. And it wasn't about me and Nick. I found, my people, so to speak, and he found his. And that's what that whole part of the journey was about. And so Best Buy was when I went in there with two people, and I went in Waco with my friend Mike, and I went in Humble with Rod. The Gare's a different animal. He's a different breed. And we know it in vulgar terms, right? When the really attractive woman comes in, we notice, right? When the real dumb jock football guy walks in to keep in a real vulgar kind of depiction here, we know that. When the real slow guy comes in, who's just abrasive and slow and rude, we know that. So we know there are types of people, not to be this or that mentality, but we recognize even race, okay, gender. We notice. You're not going to confuse a black man for a white man. That's not to point out, you're this and that. It's noticeable. Right? A fat guy, a skinny guy. You didn't notice?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you notice. But the bottom line is that there's a ger and a goy. And we all notice it, but we don't have the articulation in Torah to notice it. And again, it's not a racial thing, right? It's a surface level notice. The ger is more driven, wisdom based, knows what he's doing, more secure, maybe a little bit more aggressive. The goy is more in his own little world, his own bubble, unenlightened.
Right, and that's about it.
And it doesn't matter. It's like when you figure out a receipt. Some people know the math, some people don't. Some people have to use a calculator. You notice that, but it doesn't mean you're better because you can do the math in your head. No one's saying that. But there is something called a math head. Everyone knows that. The guy that can do the math in his head. And it's impressive. And you say, well, you're a math head. What do you do? Oh, I'm the guy who I can find what I'm looking for in a matter of seconds. Oh, I never do that. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Again, we said in the last episode that the Jewish nation is the ruling power. And again, we're not talking money and politics. It is that God created one nation. Therefore, that nation lives eternally. Every other nation will disappear. By definition, Israel is victorious. That's why there's an expression, Netzach Yisrael, the victory of Israel. Thus, in Best Buy, there is, those of an eternal nation, those of not of one. And it sticks out. People identify with Israel in their soul, and there are people that don't. And when you're connected and born in, you're born into it. It's a soul. Again, why is there a math head and why is there this? So in the rating scale of Torah and God, the ger sticks out. Just like the math head and the English major, right? I can correct your grammar mistakes. I can figure your receipt. But if you want to get into Torah reality, I am of Israel. I'm not. If you want to talk fashion, that guy dresses smart. This guy dresses like a lowlife. What is your judgment system? What's your value system? And not in terms of who's better or worse, just what lens are you looking at? I chose to look at the lens through Torah. That's my life choice. And you don't have to. And you're not better or worse than me, and vice versa, if you choose to look at me as a poorly dressed individual. I accept that. I'm not, and I really should dress better. But I'm looking at myself as a Torah personality, and that's how I view you. And we can talk, and it doesn't need to be an argument. We can see each other's side, and I say, wow, you're a really great fashion wisdom person. I could learn a lot from you. There are many wisdoms. Point being that in Best Buy, I saw the Torah wisdom come to life, right? Where you see a pair of fashion jeans and ugly jeans. I saw not beautiful people and ugly people because the Torah doesn't think in those terms. I saw different kinds of people. I saw different kinds of jeans. I saw the ger and I saw the goy. And I recognized that I was the Jew. That's obvious. Beard yarmulke tzitzis. What I realized was that if I am Jewish and I accept that And it doesn't need to be an identity like, or a fight for my right to exist and don't kill me, anti-Semitism, and all the things that people have in their neuroses and psychoses of these things. Just be a Jew.
Yep.
Because the guy is saying, look, dude, I play Dungeons and Dragons. What do you want from me? My attitude was then, look, I wear a little funny hat on my head, and that's just the way it is. No one looked at me funny. No one really cared. I'm from Israel, and I don't need to feel the need to tell you. But my energy was different than the goy, and the ger was different energy than both of us. And that was the beauty of the experience, was we're all out there. There are Jews in your life, there are goyim in your life, and there are gerim in your life. And we all interact. And you know what? I'm a goy too. When I'm on the Midrachov and Sfat yelling, where's my, my parking meter to pay my bill, I'm probably not acting too Jewish.
Right.
When I'm with ger, teaching ger, I'm not sounding like a Jew. Right now, I'm not talking yeshivish. Some kind of, Jews are gerim too. A secular Jew is called a nachri, which is the Torah goy Gentile. So we all have it, all these shades in us. What I was calling in the lecture at Nativ, Dirk the goy, he may be Dirk the ger in every element but Best Buy.
Right.
So maybe the coworker is his Dungeons and Dragons friend, and that's his element. It's the one time a day the guy gets to think in that. Mm-hmm. But really, he's super ger, and he didn't pay attention to me. He's like, well, I got 20 billion Jews in my life. What's one more? Why do I need you? And I say, that's great. So it's not about being judgmental. It's about what I walked into in Best Buy. From my subjective point of the universe, I saw it in motion. And they don't owe me any favors or responses, and I don't have any need to label them or judge them. It's simply an observation. And Texas began for me with observing the Torah is real. And I've known that from Israel, Sfat, text, Hebrew, Dayton experience. But it's like, when you're in a classroom situation, or, the quarterback of a football game, when it's in the film room versus game day, when he sees, wow, Bob Jones, the defensive back, really does stink. I can exploit this guy all day long. I saw it in the film study, but I didn't know he really is that stupid. And you see Peyton Manning throws for 10 touchdowns, right? Again, wow, I know there are gerim in the world, but man, I didn't realize they're like out there. It's happening. They're interacting. And that was the surprise. It's even more profound and technicolor than one can imagine. That was the whole trip. Was the journey was different communities, right? There's the Best Buy community in a certain way. There's the Rod Bryant personal family community, his daughter and his son-in-law, and then his Nativ community, and where he eats lunch with his local rabbi friend, and Israeli food, and the Israelis there. You saw the communities, and the journey was about taking ger from Dayton, Ohio, to Nick Talley, to the airplane, to Ira, to my mother, to my kids, to the airport, to Houston, to New York, to Grand Central Station, to almost getting arrested in Grand Central Station because I wanted to sit on the ground outside Starbucks and use the Wi-Fi, and I was told you can't sit here. And I'm thinking, just where America's going and where it's been and the way it was. And then we journeyed from there to Anita Jones and Vendel and the Noahide Museum in his house, the 4-poster bed I slept on, grill and ger apron, journeying to Waco, going in the middle of nowhere, and then going into Waco and learning why the college Baylor is not spelled Bailor. When you pronounce it Baylor, it's not pronounced Baylor, it's Baylor, because it's B-A-Y. And learning those lessons. What are cowboy boots? What is a cowboy hat? It's not a funny costume. I know it sounds trivial and stupid, but the Yankee, so to speak, doesn't really know. I didn't know you wear cowboy boots so as to not get snake bites on your feet. I didn't know you wear a cowboy hat because we call that shade. I mean, it's obvious and logical, but the Dayton, Ohio crowd is not really caring why the Texans wear the hat. In Dayton, they have an identity crisis. They just want to wear a cowboy hat because we think it's cool.
Right.
It's not cool. Unless you take the word literally, it is about keeping cool.
Yeah. Right.
And that's how the Texan views it. This is how people have disagreements. They say, well, I'm cool with my hat. You say, you look like a dork. Wait, what? No, man, literally, not hot.
Physically
cool.
Yeah.
And that's how the Texan mind is. I would say why. I'll transition to you back to this point. is why was Ger centered in Texas? And the answer that I'm currently sitting on is two reasons. Number one, where do you go to be a country star? Nashville. Where do you go for alternative rock? Seattle. Where do you go to make money? Wall Street. Where do you go to be a celebrity? Hollywood. Where do you go to be Jethro? Texas. And also, the reason why is Texas is land. There's no such thing as the land of Dayton, okay? But there is something called the air of Israel makes you wise in the land of Israel. Texas is the land. You wear those boots because you got a lot of snakes down there and you need those boots there. The Texan lives on the land. He lives off the fat of the land. And that requires Ger wisdom. And Texas is the epicenter of Jethro Ger wisdom.
Very good. Rabbi, before you leave, we were going to do this last episode, but I forgot to remind you. What does the Ger, how can they celebrate this Yom Kippur?
By knowing that every night of Yom Kippur, every year, in Kol Nidre, we mention who can come to say Kol Nidre. And it says the Ger. Every Jew will pray that tonight. And every Jew will think, I don't think that this is only the convert from the context. And the answer is it is not the convert at all. The convert is called a Jew. And every Jew is to keep Yom Kippur. Thus, the Ger of Kol Nidre, the opening ceremony of Yom Kippur, that is every Ger on the planet. Every Noahide, every Torah God-fearing personality, everyone that has recognized the God of Israel, you have a portion of Yom Kippur. And I gave a class a couple nights ago that I did not get up on the internet yet. The Vilna Gaon says very clearly there are three stages of Yom Kippur. First is cleansing your sin. Number two, and this is all under the premise that there's no Satan or Satan active on Yom Kippur. It's the one day that God does not put in motion that program. So not only is there not an antagonist against you, but you're not even an antagonist against yourself, because in another couple hours from now, I will no longer have sins. God cleanses you of those sins. And if you know the Torah to be true, then I can actually entertain that I am a pure individual that one day a year. Once you do that, you can say, well, then how come I'm still a bad guy? How come I got mad at Bob for sitting in my seat in the synagogue? You say, well, David Katz, did you ever think today is the day that you can fix that? So take it in your possession to fix that, because you can. There's no opposition. The third level, on the Yom Kippur, is the day that you're able to love. If you can find love on Yom Kippur, love your fellow man, love the Ger, love Hashem, love yourself, love your family, love the day, love the Torah, love Israel, as in all that is represented in the Israel system of Torah, as in not the temporal entity, you will have a Yom Kippur that is akin to the complete redemption. And when we have a Yom Kippur like that, coming off of Rosh Hashanah, where all of our sustenance is decreed, and it's kind of egotistical, and you know, we're saying, you know, God give to me, but I didn't pray for William Hall to get stuff. Why? I forgot. So Yom Kippur says, you know what? You have nothing today, Dave. You're not even eating any food today. So you have nothing. All you can really do is love William Hall. That's all you have. You don't have anything else. You have no internet, no life, no food, can't go anywhere. Now, you don't have to actively love William, but what else are you going to do? You have nothing else to do. So you might as well love everything and be filled with love, because that's all I'm giving you today, and I'm not preventing it in any way. That's Yom Kippur.
Does the Ger fast with the Jewish people?
He can. Doesn't have to, but he can.
Okay, so man, that just spins off about 20 other questions, but we really don't have time to cover it in this episode, but maybe that's a reason for yet another visit. Right. Very good.
So have a great holiday.
Thank you, Rabbi.
It's awesome. I think this is the first year we've had Ger consciousness of Yom Kippur, and everyone make it a loving day.
Amen. Soulmazel.com, soulmazel.blogspot.com, geargear.com, and probably there's a couple more stuff out there, Facebook pages, etc. Check it out. Go buy the book, Gear. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Tanakh Talk. .proboards.com. There's the place you got to go to find more of Rabbi David Katz and some other people are going to be more active in posting things that they'll be very helpful and handy. So subscribe to all the websites. You've got us on Facebook. You can actually subscribe to the Facebook page Tanakh Talk to be informed of all the upcoming events as I post them. So if you're interested, go to the page, subscribe, and do the same for Rabbi Katz. A lot of good stuff out there. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a great night if you're here in America. Rabbi, have a wonderful day. Shalom, shalom.
Thanks.
You bet.
נזכור בסוף, כולנו שותפים. חשוב תמיד להיות אנושי. חושבים טוב ומקשיב לכל האור.